Yume Nikki. Fangames. This video is going to assume you watched my Yume Nikki video, so I'm going to skip a lot of the fluff. Yume Nikki has a lot of fan games, man. A whole wiki, and I mean a lot. Like, I'm never going to play these all a lot. It's a curious case for sure. Fan games are typically made in respects to a series. Like, you really like the game, so why not make a game in the same universe or something like that. Yume Nikki fan games aren't really like that. It's more like take the same idea and gameplay and run with it. You honestly don't see large numbers of fan games for a series often, especially for indie games. Maybe the oddest part is that with most fan games, things at least take place in the same universe, but Yume Nikki fan games are basically just different games with similar ideas. To be fair, Yume Nikki is a really appealing idea, and stuff like this is pretty simple to do in rpgmaker. You just need some creativity. But I don't know, maybe it is hard. I have 3,000 hours in rpgmaker, so I might be biased when I can tell how everything is done in these games. Regardless, it's a cool concept for a game, right? Go around a dream world. Dreams are so different for everyone that could mean anything to anyone. You can put anything in these games. I never really dabbled in any of these fan games, excluding one, dotflow. Made during a Yume Nikki fan game contest of all things, by LOL, or LOL Rust, who's actually working on another game right now. Pretty cool. So anyways, made for a contest, huh? Makes me wonder how rushed this was, you know? Well, unlike Kikiyama, LOL Rust is very much so active. He even recently updated dotflow back in May of 2019. Which is 10 years after the game originally came out, back in 2009. Even still, despite it having multiple endings and being seemingly finished, it's still labeled as version 0.194. Yeah, alright man. Man, oddly enough, this was made in rpgmaker 2000. Yeah, not 2003 like Yume Nikki was. How weird. My memories are still a little blurry on this game, and with the addition of new content, this will be a cool revisit. I'm gonna try not to compare this much to Yume Nikki, but just the title screen, there is a large difference. You see this glitched person along with this glitched logo, and the music is very subtle, just little beeps and boops. It really sets the mood, especially coming in from Yume Nikki. When you think of dotflow, or at least for me, I see a lot more of a horror game. It's definitely a different tone. If that wasn't enough, even get this glitchy static intro to set the mood. Our main character is a white-haired chick named Sabitsuki. She lives in an apartment, has a balcony, and refuses to go outside. Sound familiar? Well, not quite. In a fun little twist, going to bed in this game actually is how you save, while using the desks is how you enter the dream world. She uses her computer to, I guess, access her mind? I think that's known as flow? Yeah, sure man. So then once again, you're off on this adventure through surreal and strange dreamscapes to collect all of the effects. Except not really. You don't really get colorful or bright locations in this game. You get hospitals with dying kids, slums, rundown cities, a school. Just the same, you'll see crazy things, but instead it's a lot more disturbing. The chases in this game are the kaibitsu, these white-haired school kids with bloodied faces. Even some of the effects are a lot more on the gory side. Despite being a Yume Nikki fan game, this game has a very distinct art style. Same with its music. I can't really remember much of the tracks because it's like super ambience. Like, more like sound effects rather than music. Don't believe me? Here's a sampling. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about gameplay first. Everything I said about Yume Nikki applies here, but maybe better? There are very few screens that are just black backgrounds, yet still the main hub areas are all like this. On the positive sides, these are a lot smaller. The effects themselves are functionally similar to that of Yume Nikki. You got the rave one, the pointless one that slows you down, the one that teleports you back to the hub, and the one that speeds you up. In this case, the witch effect. Let's get the criticism out of the way. This game is funny because the ways I dislike it are nearly opposite of the ways I disliked Yume Nikki. The hub world this time is split into 4 different paths. It randomly changes too, which is pretty cool. But anyways, these paths lead to the other areas. This game has way more cool areas, and that's a big plus over Yume Nikki. Here's the problem though. These hub worlds basically only lead to one path. It's super linear, and it creates this big problem where you're constantly having to go down the same path over and over. The number of times I went down the footprint path and these stairs, it's not fun, man. Strangely enough, a lot of the effects don't do anything when you press the effect button. The Famicom world itself doesn't have the cool separate menu either like in Yume Nikki, although your effects still have 8-bit versions. And with this being a much smaller game, I don't know, it kind of feels scuffed. I don't really like how a lot of the NPCs don't make any sounds when you interact with them either. As cool as the witch effect is, because you're floating in the air, you miss out on the special footsteps sound effects. But hey, at least you get to explore more cool areas. I like this neon city, it's like Moonside from Other 2, or this underground sewer area with the school students, or the bar with the dudes chilling. I'd say my fun levels were overall the same with this game though. So what's going on here? What's with all the dead people? Why am I being chased by these white-haired kids? Well, let's first set the stage. There's two reoccurring characters in this game. One's this girl with a diving helmet named Oriko. You see her a couple of times and she's always around these strange machines. They look so cool. And there's a lot of orange and black imagery with her. These areas make me think of grates with lava underneath them, like deep in some underground lab. You also see her younger self in the hospital. But more importantly, the other character, Smile. A guy with spiky black hair and tattoos over his eyes. You actually see him a lot throughout this game. This roof part might be my favorite moment in the game. Just on the roof with Smile with the sky being total hell. I like this part in the underground area with all these guys in school uniforms around. And at this part here you can see that there's something cool happening just off screen. But hey, who's that with the spiky black hair? Yeah man, it's Smile. One cool thing I always loved about Yume Nikki are the crazy specific effect applications. In this case, you can use the gun and Smile will actually turn around. And this is before he has the eye tattoos too. So I'll be honest, I don't really have too much of a good idea on what's going on, and my interpretation may be a little generic, but let me try. A common highlight in this game is the honestly horrifying sight of rust. People aren't just bleeding, they're rusting. Like, just imagine that. Rusting away. Man. And whatever disease is causing this, Sabitsuki has. I know, it's not original. That's why she can't go outside. She's like quarantined. And I guess the effects are like memories or parts of her. You go around and see her life. Oriko has a friendship counter, so can we assume that Oriko and Sabitsuki are maybe friends? Even being at the same hospital. Smile seems like a loner delinquent living with his sister in this weird house way far off. Having black hair instead of white like the other students besides these guys. And maybe the two were like partners in crime, outsiders. Maybe Smile had the disease too. I'm sure saying maybe a lot, huh? One weird thing that I don't understand is that you see a lot of imagery of flowers in this game. These flowers typically have white petals, much like Sabitsuki's white hair, so I'd imagine there's some sort of connection. Kinda gives me an industrial versus nature sort of feel. This imagery right here showing Sabitsuki's life throughout the years makes me think she was like birthed from a plant. Maybe the disease came from the flowers. I don't know what this liquid coming out is. I thought they were helpful leading you the right way here, but maybe they're trying to lead you into the forest to get the disease. There's this thing called the Corrosion Counter. As it goes up, typically from horrifying events occurring, Sabitsuki's room changes, getting bloodier, and eventually the two red capsule things being hooked up to her computer. It's like she's on life support, quite literally connected to her computer, as if it is a part of her, as if it is her. You see a lot of hospital imagery in this game, which meshes well with the disease theory. You can even find a younger Sabitsuki in the lower floors of this hospital, where everyone else is sick. I guess this is where people who are really sick, maybe even too late, go. The Sabitsuki even gets worse with the corrosion counter rising. But what about the effects? I think the effects are parts of Sabitsuki's life. Things that occurred, parts of her, things she has seen. So what happens when you get all the effects? Well, first you get this strange cutscene that's like a montage of oddity, but I think seeing this white-haired person rise from this corpse kind of foreshadows what's going to happen. Well, this game does have multiple endings. If you go out now, you'll get the ending where Sabitsuki just jumps off the apartment roof. This kind of came off to me as just a reference to Yume Nikki's ending, but I've kind of grown to appreciate it. It may be the lamest ending, but it's kind of the happiest. But let's get deep in. There are some parts while exploring Flow that you encounter these areas that Sabitsuki refuses to go into. Well, when you drop off all of your effects, effectively discarding Sabitsuki, you become someone different. Rust. Rust is a different character from Sabitsuki. I believe it's a manifestation of Sabitsuki's disease, and by dropping these effects off, the diseases have finally taken over. So, what happens now in Flow? There's a lot of small changes, most of them I really can't name. Oriko disappears from the game, and if you go to see her in the hospital, she's dead. I think that Sabitsuki seeing her friend died is what made her give up and accept Rust, maybe. If you go to Smile back in the underground area, he'll have tattoos over his eyes now. So that's maybe when the two became friends, when she got the disease. Maybe the tattoos represent his face being torn open, like it's rusting or something, and I don't know, maybe he's just prideful he has the disease. Also, for the longest time, I really thought Smile just had plus signs for his eyes, not like tattoos. Hey, I'm not the only one, look up fan art. Instead of the typically white-haired Kabitsu chasers, instead you'll get chased by these demon things. I guess they're called fetuses? Okay. When hit by these, Rust begins to slowly, rust away, and taking too much damage kicks you out. Anyways, remember those areas Sabitsuki refused to go into? Well, now you can. Going to these areas will give you an invisible item. There's 3 of these. So I would imagine these represent Sabitsuki's most traumatic memories. One being in the school, one being in the hospital, right next to where she was. I think this one here is super interesting, super cool. You see Sabitsuki in this test tube thing. You see Oriko here as well. Maybe Sabitsuki was tested on and stuff. Maybe Oriko did it. Maybe they both were, as some last-ditch effort to save them. Or maybe this is how they got the disease, through experiments. Or they're just collecting data from the disease. You see how my thoughts are all over the place with this? Also, this is definitely the worst part of the game gameplay-wise. Because you lost your effects, you don't have Witch anymore. And it's one thing to wander around in these areas with the slow speed for the first time, but this is the end of the game. You've seen all of this before. It's very boring and I nearly fell asleep, man. Anyways, there's a second ending for you if you didn't get the invisible items and you just went outside with Rust, where instead of jumping off, this maid lady takes you away. These guys are commonly seen throughout the game. The gas masks could imply how infectious this disease is, but it could also be that Lord Rush just really likes gas masks, and he also likes white hair. So after you found the invisible items and enter Flow, you'll notice the computer is gone, now just an elevator, and it's like you're going down into the core of Sabitsuki. You begin to walk down this hall over and over with the fetuses constantly attacking you, and you can't dodge them either, it's forced. This whole segment is going through Sabitsuki's final immune systems. She can't defend Rust anymore. You get to the final room and encounter Sabitsuki and... yeah, Sabitsuki's dead. What's left now is just another Kaibitsu. This is seen in the final ending, where Rust makes the Kaibitsu laugh and the gas mask lady, known as Cleaners apparently, takes out a chainsaw and kills her. That's really the ending. This game, I guess, was just the last few moments of someone's life as their disease took over them, thinking of all their memories and the friends they made before it all ends. That's what I think dotflow is. I don't think Sabitsuki herself is that great of a person either. The school kind of hints at her being violent. There's even this point where if you enter this random event at Sabitsuki, you'll be chased by Kaibutsu that all want to attack you. And then you see Smile, who if you attack, he straight up kills you. But if you're Rust, you see the Kaibutsu being attacked and turned into fetuses. and at the end, you kill Smile. It's stuff like this that makes it hard to tell what the story is going on. There's a lot of nuance, and small things that can imply a lot. Like, who is this black-haired woman seen around Sabitsuki in a couple spots? Her mother? I'm not sure. Maybe she had to get separated from Sabitsuki, and that's why when you see her with a younger Sabitsuki here, it's all romanticized like it happened in the past. But when you get to this part showing parts of Sabitsuki's life, you see the woman outside of these rooms, like she's been separated from Sabitsuki's life. I don't know, man. But hey, isn't that what's cool about these games? Everyone sees them differently. So I guess you may be wondering, which game I like more, between Yume Nikki and dotflow? Well, for the longest time I preferred dotflow, but with my Yume Nikki video I found a ton of new respect for that game. So, I guess if I had to choose now... Hey Spacey! Hey man, what's up? I was wondering if you were going to talk about that one Doom mod that has a dotflow segment. I mean, I'd rather wait on the horror Doom mod for Halloween, so you can be drowned out by the other people who look at Doom mods doing the same thing? Exactly. Okay guys, what was I talking about again? Oh well, it probably wasn't that important. Hey man, that's dotflow. It was nice to revisit this game, now that I'm more mature, and after giving Yume Nikki an analysis, even if I still missed some parts of it, like how the face door in Yume Nikki is the same door that's in Madatsuki's apartment, that stuff is really interesting and cool. And it's cool to see how different people interpret the same experience you had. That's what's cool about experimental indie games, it's cool stuff, man. Even if the games themselves are basically boring walking sims. That's one good part of being done with these games, man. So does that mean you're not playing Yume Nikki?